Hi guys, tonight we're going to look at making P2 planetary production products on a single planet. So we're going to extract the raw resource, convert it to P1 and then to P2. There is a really handy site that you can use, hands.io/pi, that will give you basically a breakdown of what's required to make all of the different tiers. So I'm on a barren planet at the moment, and you're going to need to find two resources that are pretty close together that will make a P2. So we've got aqueous, liquids, base metals, carbon compounds, materials. So looking at this, I already know, because I've done some of this already, base metals and microorganisms will combine to make nanites. So let's just check. Nanites, base metals to reactive metals, microorganisms to bacteria, and those two combine to make nanites. So let's scan to see where our resources are consolidated. So we've got a pretty good spread for the base metals. See straight away, so I can see we've got a nice vein of microorganisms there, and if I switch to base metals, I'm not a million miles away. In fact, that's pretty much as good as you could hope for. So let's start off. So we know that down here we've got it's almost overlapping it. Almost, yeah. So basically, this blank patch here is where the microorganisms are. So we're going to do a line of facilities sort of between the two. So we'll start by putting an extractor control unit there, so we know that we've got that hotspot covered, and we're going to put two basic industries next to it. Doesn't really matter what order you lay this out in, but if you find a way that makes it logical in your head when you're setting up all the routes, which we'll get to in a moment, this just works for me, because I know, okay, this side is where this resource is, and that's the facilities processing that resource, but you'll see what I mean in a second. We're going to put a launch pad in the middle, and then basically just mirror it back out to the other side, and another extractor. So if we go back to scan microorganisms, we know we're right in the thick of it there, so we can reach both sides of that hotspot. And then we're going to need two advanced, so basically two P1s will supply product for one P2 facility. I think that scales up in line. The same for P2 to P3. So I always put my advanced ones right next to the launch pad each side. So that's basically all the buildings we're going to need. So I'll just submit that, and then we're going to link all those together. So you just click once and then click again. Okay, so they're all linked. I did do another video prior to this where it was just setting up a planet to extract and to extract raw resources and create P1. So check that out. That goes through a bunch of the basic stuff, the skills you're going to need, and a little bit about command centers and their role. By the way, your command center does not need to be near your facilities. Mine is miles away because I had this planet set up to do something else originally. There it is. So it doesn't matter how far away that is. Okay, so got all our buildings linked together, and just skills wise, I'll just show you quickly. So that's where we're at. 4 on command center, 4 on consolidation, which gives you 5 planets, 3 remote sensing, 3 planetology. So first thing I do once I've got the buildings in place is I'll get the extractors up and running. With the skills that I just showed you, and your command center upgraded as far as it can go, with this amount of buildings you will be running 5 extractor heads on each extractor. So we'll set the resource. We know that the top one was base metals for reactive, so that shows us our hotspot. I'm doing 2-week pulls on these because I'm finding that I'm forgetting about things and then coming back and realizing that an extractor's been running not running for days, so the yield is lower over time, but at least it's always, there's 2 weeks that's constantly going to be churning product out for me. And I'm doing this over 6 characters, 6 alts, so if I had it on 2-day pulls it would be a hell of a lot of management. So as you notice, the longer the program duration, the bigger your extractor heads become. So you can, if you're doing it on a shorter time frame, you can really zero in on these hotspots. But anything over anything over 120, I'm pretty okay with. They're all over 120. That should be enough to not have any downtime. I've not run the numbers on this. I'm not a spreadsheety stats kind of person. I just know what works for me personally, and if it can help other people, then great. So enough waffle. Right, so we've got those 5 heads in place. We're going to start the extraction program and submit that. And we're going to go ahead and do the same for the bottom one. So microorganisms this time. 2 weeks. 5 heads. And just spread them out. This is really, it's quite dense down here, so we're going to have you're always going to be pulling more of one resource than the other. It's inevitable. You'll rarely find a dead equal spread, so I'm not being too fussy with it. So start that up, submit that. So now we've got our 2 sets of products flowing into the extractor control, but it's not going anywhere else. So the top 2 facilities, we need to install a program for those, and base metals becomes reactive. So install, and the bottom, microorganisms to bacteria. And the advanced ones, we know we're making nanites, so install those. So now comes I say tricky, it's not tricky once you get your head around the routing of it, it's a doddle. So I'll go through the routing pretty slow. So we've got a raw resource coming into the extractor head, we need to route that to the launch pad. So click on the extractor head, the extractor control unit, products, base metals, double click, and then double click on the launch pad. That's sending that straight to the launch pad, and we'll do the same with the bottom one, double click, double click. So now our raw materials are coming into the launchpad, and we need to send them out to be processed. So back to the launchpad, routes, you see base metals are inbound. We want to route them outbound. So you can't just double click, you have to click and then click create route, and then you can double click on the facility. And again, so we got base metals inbound, create route for that facility. And then if you click on the facility and click on products, you see it's creating reactive metals, and we're going to route that. You can double click that and then double click again on the command center and the launchpad. And again, double click, double click. So that's our first little run set up. So raw materials coming in, going to the launchpad, going out to be processed, and then back to the launchpad. So we'll do that again for our bacteria. Got that coming inbound, route it out, inbound, route it out, and then route it back, and route it back. So that's the P1 side of it set up. If I left that running, we would just end up with a mixture of reactive metals and bacteria sat on the launchpad. But we want to convert those to nanoites. So back to the launchpad, we're looking for our incoming P1. We should have 2 of each. So we've got 2 bacteria, 2 reactive metals. Now I don't know for sure whether it makes a difference whether you just do 1 of each to each one, but just for caution, I'm doing both to both. So if there's some kind of block somewhere where one route has not got as much as another, it should balance itself out. So, but logically, it would, I would say that 1 to 1 would be fine, but you know, it's a couple of extra clicks. So I just do top then bottom for both. So bacteria, create route, double click. Second bacteria, create route, double click. First reactive metals, create route, double click. Second reactive, and make sure it's the incoming reactive metals, create route, double click. Now if I click on the facility and products, there's my nanoites. So they need to be routed, double click, and you see we've got the yellow circle. It's waiting for resources to come in now. So same again. Double click. Second one, double click. First one, double click. And second one, double click. Click on the facility, check the products, double click the products, double click the launchpad. And that is it. We can just leave that running, and there's nothing stopping you going in early and changing that extraction program, but be aware whatever was assigned to that full run of extractor will get taken away from that planet. So you could kind of screw over your alliance or corp if you set up a 14-day pull for resources, end it early because you want to move things around. So if you're doing a long pull, commit to it and let it run all the way. Obviously, if the location and the concentration of the resources changes so much that you know you're not going to get anything out of it, maybe adjust it, but just, you know, a courtesy thing, don't strip a planet out unnecessarily. If you maybe set it up 2-day runs at the start just to get a feel for it. So I'll check in on that every couple of days just to see how it's piling up. Next video is probably going to be factory planets going from P2 to P3. So thank you for watching. I hope this helped you out. Fly brave, and I'll see you next time.